Welcome to this week's episode of the BDE Sports Talk Podcast, giving you the latest scoop in the world of sports in the great state of Michigan. Tonight, we discuss the Lions free agency so far. Also, if the show receiver with Amon-Ra in it is going to excite us, we're going to talk about MSU and them making their 26th consecutive tournament and how far Eddie and Dean think they're going to go. We get into Juwan Howard firing and, of course, the Red Wings weekly update. I am Bill, one of your co-hosts. Along with me are the D and E of the BDE. The women call them Delicious Dean and Extra Tasty Ed. Fellas,
how'd you know?
Looking sweet tonight. How you doing?
My nickname in high school was Sweet and Creamy, so.
Oh man, no, I love it.
Good.
Extra tasty. Yeah, no, I've heard that plenty of times. How's ball handler Bill doing? And we're not talking about basketball, baby.
I'm doing pretty good. All right. So
He's like, why do I do this?
Because bringing up Delicious Dean and Extra Tasty Ed brings happy thoughts to my brain, it immediately gives me another great thought. And that's Adobo Boy, because they are delicious and extra tasty. Mm-hmm. Adobo Boy is the official sponsor of the BD Sports Talk Podcast. We three Band O brothers, we're the proud Filipinos who love a good Filipino meal, and Adobo Boy delivers just that with their amazing food and vibes that are unmatched in the food industry. Not only do they have delicious food, they also go against the grain of a traditional restaurant and tinker with their menu to bring you an amazing variety of Filipino cuisine. Their menu rotates weekly, so there's always a reason to come back to try more authentic Filipino food. But that one dish.
Go ahead, lay it on him, Bill.
Red's Pork Adobo Bowl. Iconic Filipino dish, iconic Adobo Boy dish. It's my favorite. It's Dean's favorite. And you can trust him because he is the Adobo man.
I am Adobo Dean.
Adobo Dean.
Dean, tell us about that delicious bowl.
Oh, it's so good. It's tender pork braised in soy sauce and vinegar. It's on a bed of rice with Jackie's achar or papaya salad and with some cucumber. I like to eat it separately as Ace recommends it, but it's worth getting two to mix one up if you'd like. You should head on down there.
I completely agree, sir. If you are looking into new and different food or just like some amazing pork adobo and amazing vibes, stop into Adobo Boy, where owners Ace, Jackie, and Red are amazing people who genuinely care about your experience there. Eddie, tell these lovely people what they get if they stop into Adobo Boy, please.
Oh, what don't you get? That's the real question. But you definitely get great food. You definitely get an amazing atmosphere. And on top of that, you get 5% off when you drop the promo code BDE Sports Talk Podcast. That's 5% off just by saying at the register BDE Sports Talk Podcast. You really can't beat it. Food, atmosphere, 5% off. What are you waiting on, man? Just go get some.
Oh, man. I'm glad you reminded me. I forgot about the 5% off. Just kidding.
Lies.
So, yes, you get 5% off the total bill. Adobo Boy is open Tuesday to Friday, 11:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. for lunch, 5 to 7:30 for dinner, and on Saturday, same schedule except open for dinner until 8:30 p.m. Kate had the audacity to tell me that I may not know what time Adobo Boy opens. So I put on the Spotify podcast and I said, hey, Kate, right at Adobo Boy is open.
You can go back quite a few episodes.
Adobo Boy is located at 3740 28th Street Southeast in Kentwood, Michigan. They are inside the amazing Myanmar restaurant. Get there, get fed, and walk out with a smile knowing you got a discount on an incredible atmosphere and incredible food. And remember, It's always better at Adobo Boy. Fellas, let's get into it. Lions made some tasty moves this last week. I think I'm just going to keep the theme here. They signed DJ Reader and Ravens guard Kevin Zeitler. The former Bengals captain comes in as a big, mean run stopper who will absolutely clog up the middle and free up Aleem if he stays on the field. Reader's coming back from torn quad, which had happened before on the other leg. We'll get into Zeitler in a minute, but Dean, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts on the Lions getting Reader?
Oh, like you said, I mean, he's a veteran guy. I mean, he was a captain for the Bengals last year. His stats are never going to be, as a D tackle, they're never going to be like crazy, jump off the wall. You know what I mean? Like, like when Sue wanted, 100 mil, like his stats aren't going to show what he's actually really doing for the team. As long as when he's healthy, he's going to wreak havoc in the middle. Obviously, as you said, he's a big run stopper, but I think he's a little bit more than that. If he's not double teamed, I mean, that dude can provide pressure up the middle, especially since with Aleem, like you said, like having a little bit of health issues. This is kind of a prove it year for him. It's a contract year, and we've got Reader for 2. So I think that was a big part of why they gave him that 2-year contract, was I think in the off chance that, maybe Aleem gets hurt again, or, you just don't know. You just don't know. I think he's gonna free up those guys, like you said, give Hutch and McNeil those one-on-ones, more one-on-ones. I mean, Hutch is going to get doubled a lot regardless of who's on the field. So, but I think it will provide something, because if you don't double him and he's going full strength, it's going to be tough to stop that guy. I mean, he's good. Like he's a good D tackle. And also another thing that I saw on him was, I was watching some highlights on him, just trying to get a feel for him. And he puts his hands up a lot when he's on the line, which we didn't really see a ton of from our interior defensive linemen. I'm sure those guys get their hands up, but in 2022, he actually had 4 swatted balls. I know last year he had 1, but I think that was more because he's on a struggling Bengals team. I don't know if chemistry was all there, but we only had, from the most we got from an interior defensive lineman last year was 1 from McNeil, or you could count Kaminsky, those guys. So I think that'll play a role in it too. And it fills a little bit of a need, just in a sense of if they want to run a 4 front, 5 front, he's a good nose tackle, good rotation guy with McNeil if needed. I like the signing a lot.
Yeah,
For sure.
Eddie?
Yeah, I mean, the more I looked into Reader, the more I liked the signing. I know I kind of said last week I was pretty flippant about him.
You were pretty upset. You were a little. You're a little.
I was upset about him. I was upset about the offseason in general, moving forward, because I thought of him as a run stopper. So I thought, I need to look more into him. I obviously like that he's a captain, because I think that's part of the personality traits that they look for. So you good about his fit within the team. But he actually has a PFF grade that was higher than Armstead, who I brought up last week. Not by much, but it was still higher. Reader actually has an 80.6 PFF pass rush. I wouldn't have assumed. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to get a bunch of sacks, because he only had 1 last year. And he's not a guy that's going to down Jordan Love or Drake May if they don't take Caleb Williams or Caleb Williams, scramble. But if he can create pressure up the middle, where teams have to choose to double him or Aleem, that's obviously a really good thing for us. So the more I looked into it, the more I liked it. And we'll see.
I think he's going to be a great addition to the defensive line. I think the big benefactor is going to be McNeil and Hutch. It's just one less body that they have to worry about, specifically Hutch. They'll probably still double team him, but if that happens, then they, that frees up McNeil. So great. Good signing, good veteran guy. Dean, you brought it up already. Another big signing this week was Pro Bowl guard Kevin Zeitler. The 34-year-old signed a 1-year deal and has appeared in 182 games, finished with a 93.8 pass block win rate last season, along with a 61.8 run block win rate, which that should go up considering he's going to be between Ragnow and Sewell, right?
Yeah.
Great addition to a great offensive line if he can stay on the field. Knee and quad injuries last season. But for me, overall, I think it's a great signing. They needed a guard. It's kind of a stopgap for them. Now they can draft a guard. They don't have to look early in the first round unless they really like somebody. And even then, Zeitler can, mentor them. They can develop whoever they pick because, they're probably going to go guard there. I mean, they'll go guard in the draft. I don't know if it's going to be the first round, but Dean, what do you feel the same way? I'm assuming.
Yeah, no, I mean, I thought it was a great signing. Another veteran guy that they've added onto the line. I mean, he hasn't allowed more than 4 sacks in a season in his entire career, and that was his rookie year. I think last year he allowed 2 sacks and 19 QB pressures. And if you compare it with Jonah, who also allowed 2 sacks and 17 QB pressures, you're not missing a lot there, if anything at all, right? How minuscule those can be, what do you count as like a real pressure, you know what I mean? Things like that. I also think it makes it so that way, as you pointed out with the draft, like they're definitely going to take an O lineman of some sort, whether that be a utility guy, a tackle that can play guard, or whatever the case may be. It kind of makes it available to them to kind of just take the best guy available again, kind of like it was last year for them, where they filled these certain needs, and then now you're kind of open to what you can do with that first round pick. I think it kind of opens them up to possibly even trade up and get an edge rusher that everybody's been kind of, wanting for the last year. Last year at the end of the, what I mean, at trade deadline, that was one of the big things everybody was saying, like, is edge rusher. I don't know how much they depend on James Houston stepping up, like we've talked about before. But I mean, it opens them up to take a guy, like if they could trade up, I mean, for a guy like Dallas Turner, he's probably not going to be there where they would trade up to. But then you look at other guys like Jared Verse, Florida State, or I don't want to mess this guy's up, but Latu from UCLA, guys that could fall into that, anywhere from 14 to 20. I think they have the firepower to kind of trade up into that range. So I think it's pretty exciting to see what they might do. And, you got to let Brad Holmes cook. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And Eddie, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, no, I mostly agree with what Dean said there. I mean, Zeitler was kind of a guy I was hoping for that they would sign, especially knowing that Jonah was going to be gone. I mean, he ranked 15th among all guards last year who played at least 20% of their snaps, PFF grade, 71.6, which isn't crazy impressive, but it's still good. His pass blocking is where he's really good at. He's mostly in the lower 80s PFF grade for that. Run blocking those in the low 60s, which bothers me a little because of how much we use the run game. I'm not sure what his movement's like as a pulling guard, but I'm sure, knowing them, they've done their homework on him that maybe that'll increase his run block grade as far as that stuff goes. Also a 1-year deal, so it still feels like maybe not moving up and drafting a guy, and especially I'm sure Bill's about to bring this up with Cam Sutton's issues that just popped up today. So everybody knows what today is for us, but that just popped up today. Maybe they use some of that capital to finally trade for L'Jarius Sneed, especially if he gets if Sutton gets suspended by the NFL, we won't be on the hook most likely for what they owe him, and his dead cap right now would be like 19 mil. So if they could clear that, if if that ends up being as bad as it is, hopefully, obviously all things in consideration, hopefully the lady's fine. Hopefully he has his day in court and everything like that. But if it doesn't work out, that's obviously the move on the table, potentially with money and everything else, and with the capital that the Lions do have, money and draft wise, something to think about. I would certainly trade our 29th pick and even another decent pick to get Snead. And if you can imagine, I mean, L'Jarius Sneed and Carlton Davis as your 1 and 2, that's
Huge.
that's pretty damn good. I mean, you can't ask for a whole lot more than that. So I love the signing. They needed a guy like that. It's 1 year. You hope that Sorsdahl can come around for the year after if Zeitler's not going to be there, or they draft a guy if they stay at 29. We'll see.
Yeah. I was going to touch on it with Cam Sutton, with everything going on. Just real quick, police in Florida are searching for Cam Sutton. They've been for about 2 weeks. Warrant was issued over his alleged involvement in a domestic violence case. Facing a charge of domestic battery by strangulation, 3rd-degree felony, punishable by up to 5 years in prison. Not a good look. Don't know. Not really much to talk about. You know what I mean? Until, you don't want to just assume. But I mean, I guess the best thing to talk about was what you brought up, and what the potential is if things go bad, which doesn't look good. So, yeah. I think we can kind of move on for that for now, especially since you brought it up already, which I appreciate, because I didn't really know how to segue in and out of that one. It's just...
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can work it into Lions' needs, and like I said, I mean, at the end of the day, the guy still gets a day in court. Doesn't look good that he's running, obviously.
Yeah,
but he still gets his day in court. Nobody knows the details until the details come out. But at the end of the day, if he isn't there and he can't be there and suspended by the NFL, then that opens a door another way for the Lions, or they have to use that draft to potentially move up for a corner as opposed to potentially an edge guy. But yeah, I was hoping, without Sutton going, without that situation, I was excited more for the draft, because now it is just like, let Brad cook. He can take best available to him or what he thinks the team is at, and so that was actually exciting for me. But what are you gonna do? The other stuff is the other stuff.
Right. Yeah. More Lions news today. Romeo Aquara, he retired. He announced that on his Instagram account. 8 seasons. He said,
"Wow,
what's that?
8 years?
Yeah,
doesn't seem like that long, does it?
No, dude. I feel like he was still in his first contract, man.
Yeah,
I mean, I know he signed that extension, but it just doesn't feel like it.
Yeah.
Well, he came in 2016 as an undrafted rookie free agent with the Giants
16.
for 2 seasons. So,
okay.
So he's been there for 6, because he came in 2018.
Right. That makes more sense.
He said after some introspection, and now this is coming from ESPN, after some introspection and meditation, I've decided to step away from the NFL. The game of football has been the largest part of my life for the greater of 18 years, 8 of which I have been fortunate enough to play at the professional level. 4 of those with my brother. The experiences, friendships, and camaraderie I have been lucky enough to share with my teammates, coaches, and peers is something I will forever be grateful for. You all mean the world to me, and I will continue to cheer you on for the rest of our lives. And I mean, he'll never see this and whatever, but I figured respect the man and at least say what he said. So
He was playing for the Lions when it wasn't cool to be playing for the Lions. There's a lot of guys have. So
Yeah, great point. Great
Yeah.
point. Yeah, no. Tip of the cap, Romeo.
Yeah, he finished saying, "My heart is forever with you and the city of Detroit." Fun little stat. He had 23 career sacks, which ranks fourth most by an NFL player born in Nigeria. So yeah, I don't know who else was born in Nigeria. That would be number one. But yeah.
Who did they call the Nigerian Nightmare? Is that Francis Ngannou? I'm not sure. I'm like, that might not even be a football player. Yeah, Omas.
Where was Ansa?
Don't get carried away.
Ziggy?
Yeah.
It might be. I don't want to start lumping.
I don't think.
You're racist.
Yeah, I'm not looking for that. So, Amon Ra featured on Netflix's new show Receiver. On a scale of 1 to 10, how pumped are you guys?
Oh, I mean, it's definitely a 10. I mean, how could you not be excited? I mean, they're obviously going to go through, like his list of receivers that, that were picked before him and all that stuff. And I don't know, it'll be nice to, just to see the Lions get a little bit of love in something, because we never, I mean, growing up as Lions fans, Lions are never included in things like this. You know what I mean? Like it's nice to see one of our best players get some love, and and then we'll get to it'll make other people love them as much as we do. So I'm excited. Yeah, 10 out of 10.
Eddie, before you say something, I want to ask you. You brought up how the Lions never get included in any of this stuff. Outside of Barry Sanders highlights, okay? And I just popped in my head. Outside of Barry Sanders highlights, what is the one highlight that sticks out when it comes to Lions stuff? I have one that sticks out every single time, and it's the same thing.
For me, a Lions moment for me, there's two of them that stick out to me pretty big.
Well, and when I say this, I mean like say the ones that you, in your head, but also the ones that you feel like are shown a lot.
That are shown a lot.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that'd be any Calvin Johnson highlight when he's triple teamed in the end zone, stuff like that. But the two I think of the most are well, I don't know if they're actually even highlights or just memories of mine, but like when Dre Bly had the club on his hand, and I mean, he was still our best DB with the club on his hand. And I remember him getting an interception one-handed. That always stuck out to me. I think it was against the Broncos or something like that. And then Sean Rodgers running that fumble back for a touchdown. Big baby.
Yeah. Highlights. I got lowlights. I mean, Dre Bly is definitely one that's like a secondary one for sure that crossed my mind as Bill had brought it up. Calvin Johnson against the Cowboys for sure. I'd like to say, I mean, I really remember watching him get smoked by Washington in the playoffs. I think maybe because we've talked about it over the years, but that's something that I just remember sitting there with Bill watching the game and just being like, oh, well, this sucks, that kind of thing. But, he's still so little that I was like, whatever.
Right. They'll be back.
One, I'll tell you one that really, really brings that comes to the forefront. And this is a low light, not a highlight, is John Kitna throwing a pick six and walking past, pretty much walking past the guy that's running it in for a touchdown, not trying at all.
I remember that too. And then he had a back injury after that game. It was out for the season.
That's something that sticks with me, and I think that it probably grounds me for what we have now. I mean, we all watched every game of 0-16.
Well, and that's the one. That's the one that it doesn't stick out to me, right? Like the ones that stick out to me outside of Bear, like you said, the one where Calvin was triple teamed. Um, that one will always stick in my mind. The Kitna one. The other one would be watching the crowd being told to be quiet because it was too loud in the Silver Dome. But when I brought this up, what I meant was like when you look on TV, what is it that you see?
Oh, Dan Orlovsky. Him running out of the back of the end
Good
zone.
one, yeah.
That's classic.
That one is
Classic.
on everywhere, especially since he's a personality on ESPN now too. They always show that to kind of give him crap.
What do they show on TV?
Because every time for so long is the picture, and I don't remember who it was sitting on the bench, but it was in Green Bay the day they went 0-16. And he's like, this dude's looking up at the scoreboard with like he's breathing out and like it was cold as crap out there that day.
Who was that too? If I could, if I saw the picture, I could say I know.
I just can't think of it at the moment, but
that's a great one. Not great, you know. That's
that's. I mean, that's the one that
in a way it is great, especially if we get to the point like win a Super Bowl, where it's like you were really there, man. For as bad as it gets to as good as it can get,
we stuck it out.
Yeah,
I mean
that's a good one.
Another highlight is obviously the Matthew Stafford in his rookie year against the Browns.
That one gets shown a lot too. Yeah,
that one gets shown a ton. I mean, so I thought
who needs to watch it, baby? I was there live, dog. Almost got in a fight with some Browns fans.
I believe you.
Yeah,
it's a fact.
And you wonder why I don't want to go with you to Soldier Field.
Dude, I want to go to Chicago.
Oh, come on. we gotta do what it takes to make that happen.
What were your thoughts on Amon-Ra being on receiver?
I mean, obviously I'm at a 10. You know, I'm very excited for the show. I mean, I really enjoyed their show last year, the QB show, and they didn't even have a lion on it. And so on top of it being Amon-Ra, being a lion, all that makes me more excited because I know they do a good job as far as producing a good show. And so, I'm just super looking forward to it, man.
Yeah. The thing is, like, obviously I think there's going to be a lot of, like Dean said, the list of receivers and, his work ethic and,
working out with his dad and his brother.
And it helps that they went to the NFC Championship game last year. But the other 4 receivers on there, did you guys see that at all?
I saw Justin Jefferson's name.
Yep. Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, Greg, George Kittle, and Deebo Samuel. So, one of those episodes is going to be a big one with Kittle and Samuel and Amon-Ra all in the NFC Championship. So they said it's going to be 8 episodes. So we'll see. I'm excited too. So
it'll be good.
Heck yeah, man. That'd be awesome.
So, all right. Well, MSU begins its tourney run. They did make it in 26 consecutive tournaments. Congrats to Izzo on whining his way to 26 consecutive.
You say whining. Hey, man.
Hey, I
fight for those calls, baby.
How far can they go, fellas? What are you thinking?
I mean, honestly, I'm clearly biased, and I always think that MSU has a legitimate
baby.
Just not, I mean, if I do a bracket, I always pick them to go all the way. That's just I always every single time. So when they beat Duke that one year, and they almost made it, that was pretty big for me. But
it's awesome for a lot of us. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet. But I mean, honestly, I think they have the capability to be a good team in the tournament. I think they could they could make a Sweet 16 appearance. I think if they get some good guard play out of guys like Jaden Adkins, who's a big difference maker for them last year in the tournament, made some shots. If he can play, I mean, he's got to play well, obviously, but you're going to need Hogard to show up on both ends of the floor. Walker is going to be there, to be a guy that's obviously they're going to depend on a little bit. And you got to have Malik Hall be consistent as well. I mean, that's a lot to ask but that's just what it is. It's March Madness. It's the tournament. These guys got to show up. And if they do, I mean, they weren't ranked so highly at the beginning of the season because these guys are bad players. I just think they just didn't have it together. So, I mean, I think they could be a dangerous team, but anything can happen. That's the beauty of the March Madness, right?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I looked at it a little more, statistical, analytical, I guess. They can only go as far as I think their field goal percentage takes them. I mean, they averaged 46% this year. They lost every game this year. They didn't shoot at least 45%, other than an anomaly against Northwestern where they shot 31% and still won somehow. Both games against Maryland, actually, they shot 42 and then just under 45%. Mississippi State's going to be a tough game. They've played at least as well as Michigan State this year. You could argue the Big Ten is tougher, but Mississippi State also beat Rutgers and Northwestern this year. Granted, pretty early in the season. Michigan State also beat Rutgers and Northwestern. But Mississippi State beat Auburn and Tennessee once. Mississippi State averages 74.8 points a game. They give up 69.1. Michigan State averages 73.1 and gives up 65.9. So their offense is a little better. Our defense is a little better. Tolu Smith from Mississippi State scares me the most because he's 6'11", and you can't teach that. But because we usually struggle against big guys like that. But our guys have played pretty well the last couple of times against Edie, the last 2 times. And so having actually played Purdue the last 3 times kind of paid off, or 3 times this year kind of paid off for us to prepare for a guy like that. An interesting stat that I wanted to bring up, Michigan State is 13-1 as a 9-seed or better in the first round. So
wow.
It gives me a little hope. How far can they go was the real question. Like I said, as far as their field goal percentage takes them, they play pretty good defense on a regular basis, usually. And so if they can drain some shots, they could beat some teams. I don't see them beating North Carolina. Love it if they did, but they have to beat Mississippi State first, and I'm not so sure they'll beat them either. So they're really a toss-up, man. That's a
bias?
team that could surprise people and make an Elite Eight.
Right.
A Final Four, but I also would not be surprised if they're out tomorrow.
Right. Fair enough.
It's madness.
It's madness.
Madness.
All right, so let's just get it out.
How far
of the
do you
way.
think they can go?
I don't think they beat North Carolina.
It's fair.
Are you calling it now they beat Mississippi State?
Yeah.
14-1 in the last 15 then.
Is those,
As a 9-seed or better? What do you think that one loss is? Can you guys remember that?
is it Middle Tennessee?
Brutal.
No,
Brutal. Such a good team.
I picked them to win the national
Such a-
championship that year.
I mean, a lot of people did.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
And they were a 9 seed?
No, 9-seed or better.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, they were a 2.
They're 2, right?
Actually, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
That was what? Was that a first round?
Yeah, 215.
215.
I
Yeah,
remember that.
For some
Oh,
reason. Yeah.
that would have been like 2015-ish,
Yeah.
somewhere in there.
Well, from a team that's in the tournament to a team that's not.
Ohio State.
Yeah. Michigan fires Juwan Howard. uh, after a terrible season. Sucks. I wish it had worked out. But with all the drama, like with his temper, the heart surgery, the weird Doug McDaniel being suspended for just away games, didn't understand that. You know, like, oh,
I heard Fisher was also still cutting him checks for no reason at all. They're like, no, stop, please, Fish. He just couldn't help himself.
take it.
Just take it. You need it. Trust me. Get yourself some bubble gum or something.
It's time for a reset. It starts with Juwan being fired. Doug McDaniel, Terrace Reed entered the transfer portal. Someone else entered the transfer portal. Luckily, with the portal, with a new coach, they can maybe get some transfers and at least be competitive. Who that coach is,
I don't see why not.
You know, I'm not a huge college basketball expert by any means, but for everything I've read on, from media, talking about coaching searches, things like that, I've narrowed it down to my list of 3. And that would be, now they may not get any of these 3, right? But I feel like it's either going to be Dusty May,
Sure.
Shaka Smart, or
Nope.
Brian Dutcher. Now, hold on.
Shaka's waiting for that state job to open up.
He might be.
Him and Izzo got a good relationship.
It would probably be easier for Dutcher to get Dutcher over Smart because Dutcher was an associate head coach at Michigan for like a decade.
Makes sense.
I don't know why him or Shaka would want to leave a good situation at this moment. I mean, Dutcher had San Diego State in the national championship. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know. Shaka, I don't know. I just don't see it. I don't think he leaves Marquette to come to Michigan.
Not for a second tier program. He might as well go to Marquette East. The real Mason Blue to the west in Marquette.
Dusty May seems like he could be the guy. I guess we'll see. We'll see what
That's
happens.
rude.
They may hire Chris Webber next. I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen.
He's paying kids. I'd heard rumors of. I mean, it's very like distant rumor. No, of John Calipari. Maybe. I heard a rumor of John Calipari could be in the mix.
I could see him doing that.
Which wouldn't be crazy.
Shady guy leaves for shady school.
He's a 1-year player guy. He gets all those top guys, and he supports those guys to do that.
The problem with that is Michigan doesn't give out NIL money. Like, they just won't do it. I read an article today that Juwan, one of the problems that he had was he couldn't get NIL money from the university. It was a huge fight with them, and I mean that was a problem with Harbaugh. Harbaugh fought for NIL money, and just from what I've read and everything I've seen over the last couple of years, Michigan won't do it, which is the weirdest thing. They'll
have dudes in their NIL pay stallions to go scout other teams, but they won't pay the players.
Well, insane. I mean,
this is pretty wild.
Stallions did that on his own. He was a rogue individual.
He went rogue.
I'm just saying, like, just give the money to a good kid.
No kidding.
Instead of stallions, you don't need him.
Well, I mean, I mean,
Results are results. Huh?
results are results.
Hey, baby, that trophy still stands. Do it not. I take it any day.
Oh, man.
Any day.
Yeah, it was a magical run. It was a magical run. All right. So I don't know. Did you even have any thoughts on that? Do you even care? Probably not. It's tournament time.
His firing was called for. You know, 3-17 in the conference and lost their last 9 games. I think if they could have not lost 9 straight at the end, they might have thought about keeping Juwan. They might have thought about it.
They weren't close games. Like they were getting blown out.
Yeah, losing 9 straight and 3-17 you can't justify keeping that. You know what I mean? It starts at the top, and it just happened to be Juwan Howard.
Yeah. I mean, talking about it, before, I obviously thought they'd give him another year. I didn't think Manuel had the nuts to let him go. They made the right choice. As I said before, they should fire him. I didn't think it would happen. I'm glad it did for Michigan's sake. I mean, you can't have that record at a program that considers itself a top-tier program during a clear decline over the last couple of years and be cool with it. As far as other coaches, I mean, ideally, obviously, Beeline or Jay Wright come out of retirement to take over the program. That'd be a dream scenario. Seems unlikely. If they could lure that Otzelberger guy from Iowa State, like you said, it's tough to lure some people away who are doing really well at other jobs. But if Michigan can give them the resources they're looking for, which Michigan has the resources they're looking for as long as they provide it, they'll leave. That's why it's like, yeah, I know San Diego State, they made it to the final, but dude, they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that on a consistent basis. If they gave him those kind of resources at Michigan, then yeah, that potential is there to make it on a make it to the final on a regular basis. Is once every 6 years, right? Or something, So Michigan needs to be aggressive. I think they're lucky this time that they didn't get left kind of high and dry like they did last time when Beeline left in like May or whatever.
Yeah.
Kind of like MSU's situation with Mel Tucker, actually, if you compare the two things. But, no, I think it's great for Michigan because it just wasn't working.
Yeah.
And so,
agreed.
Hopefully they hire another turd. I mean, I hope so.
Real nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Jalen Rose is probably looking for something to do.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. That's why I said, no, maybe they'll hire Chris Webber.
Why not, dude?
Get Jimmy King in there or whatever.
Yeah. Dude, I bet the kids would love that guy.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I'm saying? You just have to be good at coaching basketball also.
Yeah. Right.
I think that's what Juwan had going. Like, they all like him.
Yeah.
But no adjustments made.
Yeah. Yeah. Zero.
At any point in time, it's not good.
He's running the Remember the Titans playbook. I got 7 plays.
Dude, the
works like Novocaine.
For the first half.
Yeah, for the first half.
So, all right. Well, let's get into the Red Wings weekly update.
Whoa.
I just threw my shoulders out.
Yeah,
all
don't hurt
right.
yourself.
Yeah. A much needed win for the fellas Tuesday night at LCA. Lucas Raymond put his second goal in with 10 seconds left, 13 seconds right around there. Showtime ending it.
I think it was 12.7.
Was it 12.7? It was close. It was close.
I think so.
Kane ending it in OT to sweep Columbus. You can get a much needed win as they keep their playoff hopes alive. Fellas, they look slow again. Coming out the gate. It's been a theme for the last, seems like 3 weeks now. If not for a couple lucky bounces, they lose to Columbus at home. They looked terrible, and Mickey Redmond and Ken Daniels brought it up, halfway through the second last night was, I don't know what they talked about in the locker room, but they look like a completely different team. And they did, right? I mean, they looked
More
every
aggressive.
bit of the team that we saw a month and a half ago.
Mhm.
They were aggressive, they played defense, they weren't getting outshot 20-6.
Yeah, that was insane.
That was 20 shots in the first. Anyways, hopefully Larkin coming back at some point will put an early spark in this team. But ultimately, I mean, I've seen people say, writers say, well, this falls on Iserman, but I on Lalonde. Everyone says his name differently. At the beginning of the season, it was Lalonde. Now it's Lalonde. I don't
Winning
care.
will do that.
Playoffs will be Lalande.
Lalonde.
La la lande.
Yeah, I think that's on him. He's got to get those guys ready to go, and they just look terrible in the first period every single game, and it seems like we talk about this every single week. So, your guys' thoughts on that? If I'm way off,
No, I don't think so. I mean, I was watching a little bit of the post game interviews too, and even Patrick Kane was saying he's like, we get
Mhm.
into this habit of, we tend to feel out the game and then we get behind, and then now we're playing catch up. I don't know if those aren't his exact words, but he said something along those lines of we tend to feel it out in the first period before we actually turn it on, and we're guilty of that. And it's like, I mean, it's obvious. It's obvious, and they're slow off the bat. It doesn't look like they're playing as aggressive as they should be, especially during this part of the year where, I mean, every point matters. I mean, they won, and then now they're in that last wild card spot again. So if they don't win, they're still out. They're still playing catch up. So I mean, if they can just do that from the start, and I know that's easier said than done. I mean, these are NHL, they're professional hockey players. You know what I mean? It's not like it's just as easy to just do it right away, but they need to have that mindset going in, and I think they'll be fine. So we'll just hopefully they can just keep that mindset and just be aggressive from the start, and hopefully they can win a few more games.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that. To me, when Lucas put that shot in with 12.7 seconds left in the third,
12.5?
it kind of felt like the season got a little bit saved. That's kind of the feeling that was going through me right there. It was like
huge.
Like this, at minimum, we get a point, but
Right.
that kind of saved the season. I mean, you lose to the worst team in our conference in what feels like a must-win game. That would make things look pretty bleak. As you guys have said, I mean, the win also put them back in the second wild card spot. It's also dependent on if Washington wins tonight.
Right. Yeah.
So gotta love that they're in the wild card spot again. Sider was nice to play well. Edvinsson getting called up, that was nice. We're still being outshot, pretty bad, which stinks. I mean, even before Kane put that OT winner in, they had a 9-shot advantage overall. So,
Well, and the only reason why Evanson was even up was because Wallman's hurt.
which
It doesn't make sense. I don't get it. I mean,
he plays well, man.
I
He
know.
was playing well. I was like, oh, sweet. They called him up, got to watch. He's like, oh, he's looking good. And it's like, damn, dude, if Wallman's there, I mean, why? I don't know why it's this difficult. Maybe we just don't know enough, right? I guess.
Right.
But it's like, it feels like Sider, Wallman, obviously your best two defensemen. Edvinson's one of your top 5
that's what
on your NHL roster. That's what it feels like.
Right.
But I don't know, man. Smart hockey minds must disagree.
No, because
doesn't make sense to me.
You see it in media articles as well. I mean, it's we're not the only ones that say this. So, and you're right. I think honestly, he's probably top five, fifth best defender
I
outside of
do kind of like
outside
what.
of Mata, and Mata's close. You
Yeah,
know, Mata and Gostisbehere. But I mean, then you have Petrie, you have Sherratt.
sure.
Um, I don't know who else. The Hole. I don't freaking know.
It kind of goes to what Dean was talking about with I, I can't. Oh, Eisman. People talking about that, and maybe that is partly him because he probably is partial to veterans also,
Mhm.
and having signed veterans, probably made some promises when he signed them. You know, you get so and so or whatever. I mean, it's also the business of sports, so I don't know. I try and make excuses for whatever because it's hard to blame Stevie Y. I don't know if it's Derek Lalonde. Derek Lalonde might have been in the
Lalonde.
playoffs. But I think that's part of it.
It's fair.
But it's like, come on, let's just put the best guys.
Right.
I mean, Edvinson, sure, yeah. I mean, I'm sure they're like, well, he'll make a young kid mistake, but it's like, dude, these other guys are making old guy mistakes. So
Yeah. No. Exactly.
Right.
where are we at?
Yeah.
I completely agree. So, yeah, I don't get it. Like you said, it's probably something that we don't, as in the comments, anybody who watches this that is a Red Wings fan, if we're way off base, tell us because, and we just said it. I think he's top five best defender in the organization at this
For
point.
sure.
So, tough stretch again as they play the Islanders on Thursday night, which is a big game. They play Nashville, who had won 8 straight. They won 14 of their last 16. They play in Nashville. They play Washington, which is a must win. They've won 6 of 9, and then then it doesn't stop. It's Carolina, Florida, Tampa Bay, and the Rangers.
If you want it.
It's not easy. I mean, this stretch of games over the next couple of weeks will definitely we'll know by the end of probably the next 2 weeks. So
Seems
maybe
right.
not, maybe I'm way off on that. But it seems like you're gonna have to come out of there with a winning record. Like there's no more 3-game losing streaks. It's way too close now for that.
I mean, you're gonna have to win 8 or 9 of those bad boys at the rest of the season at minimum. I mean, to get up into the mid 90s. I mean, sprinkle in some OTs in there, but
Right.
there's not many games left.
Yeah, I think there's
So
12, 13.
yeah, so
Yeah.
you got to make it happen now.
Yeah, now's the time.
Yeah.
We kind of talked about it before the episode about Larkin maybe being back this week, which that will help things. Because that was the one thing I didn't write down that I kind of wanted to bring up real quick. I don't know if you've noticed Joe Veleno. I just he's good for what he is, but he's not. He shouldn't be on that. Well, he had him with DeBrincat and Kane last night.
Mhm.
And he didn't look the chemistry definitely wasn't there, right? Joe Veleno's a good hockey player. I can see that, but he just did not look like he should have been out on that
He's a
line.
second, third line guy. I mean, just straight up.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, good luck to the fellas this week. Rooting for you. Get some points. So, all right, fellas. Good episode. Thank you to everyone for watching. Remember to hit the like, smash the subscribe, hit us with some comments, you hockey people. Let us know. Are we way off base? Are we spot on? How do you feel about Joe Valeno being on that line? How do you feel about Sherratt and Petrie? Hopefully you agree with us because we're not huge hockey people and we can see it. So, Pistons fans, let us know. Lions fans, Cam Sutton, if you hear us, let us know where you're at.
Turn yourself in, brother.
Turn yourself in. Hopefully things aren't as bad. Yeah.
There's only one way out.
One way out, yeah. So thanks for watching. Appreciate everyone's support. Go watch last week's Wake Up. Dean's got a heck of a conspiracy theory. The fellas are trying to win at Family Feud. Did they win? We don't know.
We don't know. We do, actually.
We know. So go watch it. So, all right, everyone. Have an awesome week, and we will see you next time on the BDE Sports Talk podcast.
Sports Talk.